Alright guys, hey, welcome back to the channel. So today's topic is going to be why the Fractal AM4 is definitely not for everybody. No, 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 no. I've had it now for a couple days and I have been exploring the unit um, and trying to get a little familiar with how it works and the properties and such, And sometimes you really have to rely on some of these YouTube videos as a means of cheating without having to read the manual. And the manual is, of course, quite extensive. How many pages? 71. And it will cover everything you need to know. Now, the manual does not come with the unit, so you'll have to download it and print it out, which probably would be better than, or however, whichever easier for you to do. So, and these kind of manuals remind me when I used to buy rack mount units. There's just this extensive menus and explanations and to just show you how to shape your sound. And so what I have been gathering, boys and girls, is that the Fractal AM4, it's a little bit more innovative than the FM3 in the interface part of it. But there are definitely pros and cons. Now, what I've noticed mostly about the Fractal AM4 is the interface is great. There's no doubt about it. The interface is really nice. It has a lot of drag and drop features, and so this was Q3. I want to remind myself of that. And so now the real limitation, and no matter what anybody's going to tell you, is you can manipulate these blocks within, a preset, or someone will say, okay, well, we're gonna create a preset, your own right here. You'll take it empty and you'll start with the block, but for the most part, watching somebody like Cooper Carter here, he's going to do a little intro, Okay, and so Cooper Carter, like Leon Todd, these guys are really good. There's a lot of guys on YouTube that are very advanced players and really know the language of Fractal. They already have spent the time and the hours and the weekends and the months and the years navigating through the Fractal. So it's kind of their thing. However, for the average guitar player, it's not quite the thing because at the price point, you're 700 and some change. For most of us who play guitar on average, like myself, I'm an average player. I'm not really heavily skilled in anything, just what I make up and whatever. This is totally overkill. This is meant for more of a professional player that can implement this maybe on his pedal board and understands exactly how to shape tone and sounds to a degree which none of us will ever really want to get into if we're just wanting to play through an amp and some pedals. If not like the Yamaha THR-10X, maybe through Black Star or, a Boss combo amp. And because these are much less expensive, and the new like IDX 50 does offer a lot of new reverbs and delays that are pretty nice, pretty really on the upscale of things compared to uh, effects of the past, because the effects of the past have pretty much gone away. People really like, they're kind of captured 80s type effects, but right now there's just a huge library of delays and reverbs and other sequences of effects that a lot of professional people gravitate to when they're recording and stuff like that. That's their thing. But for us average people, it's not the deal. So here I have an average studio, average monitors. I have a digital recorder that I play through, and the Fractal unit is playing through channels 7 and 8. All the EQs have been set to flat, to 0, so that I can rely on the tone coming out of here. However, the mix is coming out of the Fractal. Because you can also shape the EQ out of your digital recorder, with your highs and lows and mids. But that's not true. This, you want to hear the unit as a whole without having to pre-shape the sound, but you want to hear the EQ out of the unit itself without any post EQ. And then you can also run it through, if you're going to use your pedals. So my guitar is plugged into there, and I'm running out into here because I can still use my own Crybaby and these effects and even my own tuner and run it in here, and then that's running into my digital mixer. Okay, so the nitty gritty to the FM4 is just this. It's definitely not for everybody. It brings me back to when I had the FM3, and when I had the FM3, there was things that I had to learn about, and one of them was the processor of the unit, what it was truly capable of handling, and for the money that you were spending on it. It's like anything. We spend money ridiculously on high-end guitars, and we're not really getting that much better of a guitar. Like, Charvel is like a custom Strat from the custom shop, where the custom shop will charge you $2,000, $1,800, $1,500, or a Charvel on the used market's like $600, and it's just a more quality, higher end Stratocaster, Super Strat, with the Floyd Rose, and that's a Floyd Rose 1000. So if you buy a Fender with Seymour Duncan's and it has Fender on there, it's like $1,200, $1,500. That's ridiculous. So my point is, when Fractal came out with this, yeah, they were going to hit some high points on the interface, how easy it was to use, drag and drop, and that's cool. But here's the nitty gritty. So, and this is what Cooper Carter was trying to convey in this one video of his. So for each, preset you make for whatever, you're going to be limited to, these 4 blocks. Now, let's say you really like the tone of these 4 blocks, but you wanted to add a chorus. Now, it's not going to happen. But what Cooper Carter is going to show you is how to manipulate the delay into acting as a chorus. So basically, let's just say you like a ping pong chorus. Well, if you created this patch with a ping pong chorus, you can forget about it ping ponging, because the only way you're going to get a delay into this, and this is what confused me about this video, is because on one hand you're saying, oh, well, we can add a chorus effect in here using a different type of delay. But then you're taking the delay that you chose or that you wanted to use out of sequence, and you're manipulating it to act as something other than. So then you're not going to get both things. You're only going to get it to do one of 2 things, either act as a delay or act as a chorus, which you can do. And so no matter what, even if you like this and you wanted to add a chorus, you can copy this, paste it down to, let's say, scene 2. But if you wanted to add a chorus, one of these blocks has to go. So let's say on the compression, that would might have to go. Maybe without reverb, that would have to go. You know, so in some of their effects would have been better had they added like chorus with delay, uh, or reverb with chorus, multi effects blocks, where you have two effects in one block. That might have served a better purpose, but you really are limited to that. So he was going to show you in this video how to manipulate the delay into acting like a chorus, but then there goes your delay. So that's the real limitation. However, you do get 4 blocks per scene per one. I mean, yeah, so you get 16 blocks per one preset, but you will be limited to that. Even if you manipulate one, you're not going to get all of the things that you want in one block, in one scene. You're just not. Now the FM3, you definitely had room to add several more blocks, and you can add a longer chain of effects, but then you would have to worry about your CPU crapping out. And so, without really knowing how much improved the processor is or memory is on here, I already saw this unit crapping out on one of the presets. It was an Ingve Malmsteen. Let me see if we can zoom in on it. Okay, so you see the CPU there? All right. Give me a second. I'll be right back. I'm going to get it dialed in. Okay, so this factory preset is Ingve FSM. It is on preset V2, and we're looking at the headroom of the CPU. Now, I don't really like this patch. Most of the patches here need a lot of work, need a lot of modifying. Again, I think there are better units that have better presets. I wouldn't say this is the best of anything, but all of it can be shaped, since that's where technology is taking us. We need to shape this and shape that and blah, blah, blah. It's all about shaping now. Supposed to even sound like Ingve? So there you see the warning. The patch already is at 77% of the CPU's capacity, and then when you start playing it, you jump to 84%. So there you see at 84%, the CPU will start to crap out. So you're paying $800, well, $700 and some change for a CPU that in some scenes that you create may not be able to handle it. So to me, that's not cool. And this was the same problem with the FM3. So this is why I think the computer-based DSPs are way more powerful, because they rely on your computer, your gaming computer, with a better processor, like an i7 14th gen. You can't compete with that with 64 or 32 DDR5 memory. So the Fractal AM4 isn't going to compete on that level ever, And a lot of these sounds are very, very muddy. Even who else is in here? You got think I was playing around with this one a little bit. Okay, now in order to use a wah, in using an external wah, you have to have a TSR, you know, compatible external device to use the wah. So let's say you don't have one. I have a CC controller, but I can't get it to work, maybe because it's not TSR, one of the nicer ones. So you would have to probably invest in a, controller that is TSR compatible. So let's say I don't have it. So if I totally have no effect here, these are my my choices. It's a shame that all these would be blank, but these are what you have here. Now with the FM3, man, you can add a lot of this on your chain of effect, but here you're really down to four, or you're down to four manipulating one to act as another. So it all depends. So you have a chorus, you have a delay, and you have an amp. I don't have a foot pedal to access right now, so this could be a dry, could be an enhanced, could be a tremolo, could be another word, it could be a phaser. A lot of people you'll see on these channels are these, they will add on the presets, they'll add a drive. And then see if I can shrink this down. Oh, here we go. So the drive is an OD250. I'm not familiar with it. This is with it out. Like anything else, like on any other devices, you can turn off and on. So here we are with the Fractal, and it's all about tone shaping, but you really have to have an inside knowledge of how all of these things work together. And that's what I'm saying. This is not for just your average Joe down the street. This is for someone who's really been a little bit more familiar with working with it. And when you look at the menus, like, you have simple menus, like on these patches, you may have, okay, what kind of stomp box do I want to use in that drive section? These are your choices, okay? And on your amp, this is a FAS Stealth Blue, but let's say you don't like it. Maybe it's too muddy, it's too crappy, and this is where it gets really, really, really to be a pain in the ass, because do you know what every one of these heads does? Like, you have to know, or you're going to spend forever till you're dead in the grave to figure out how each one of these works, how each one of these sounds, and what are the real differences between any of them. And I'm sure there is, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is crazy. So by no means is this simplified. You really do have to choose based on some sort of knowledge what it is the hell you're looking for. And I think for most of us who would buy a unit like this, we're going to cheat. We're going to copy somebody else's tone, because it's going to take a lot out of that. With each amp block, you do get your whatever the tones are, or the knobs, and then you get an EQ, And then you get a cabinet that you can shape. This is all pretty. We've seen already a lot of videos of this, dragging the mic around. This is a Dana cab, stealth, whatever that is. Cab tells you the cab right here, and then you have all of these other cabs. Like, do you really know how any one of these cabs is the response of these cabs? I don't. So I would be clicking here, clicking there, clicking on, clicking off, and you can do two different types of cabs, blah, blah, blah. And then you have expert mode. And again, the expert mode is there because there's a lot of guys who use this particular product so that they can manipulate it in such a way that it becomes like a hybrid amp. Completely like it's never registered to anything. It's like you're creating everything in expert mode, and God forbid I ever even come here. They could have added some other features rather than having an expert mode. I don't think any of us should be in the expert mode because it's taken away from the simplicity of achieving good sound in an easy way, because everything matters in this tone shaping chaos of effects, where I think Boss and Line 6, we're trying to simplify things, and there's a lot of great amps that do a lot of this, but in a different way, simplified. So this is Leon Todd's live AM4. I think I toned down the chorus because it was so like big. It was like really big. I don't know how much it was. So like Leon Todd likes a lot of chorus. But for me, I kind of back down off of the chorus. It's not that important for me. I just want this more to act like my DSPs. This is how I want it to act. My DSPs are very simple to use. So here's Afterglow. Okay, so let's go back to this video. I want to show you what he did here in the beginning. This is the AM4, Okay, so this is a $700 change effect, unit that gives you all kinds of things to choose from. This right here is a $60, $70 piece of software. Shape this just like what he was. Now this one has a lot of grains. I can bring down the grains on this, bring down that delay, kind of tighten it up a little more. Chorus right here. Sort of like Leon Todd, but I can bring it down real simple. And you get a lot of killer stuff out of these DSPs. Let's say the reverb. They have this underwater thing. If you click on that, okay, this is a $70 piece of software, and it can easily compete with, fractal stuff. So it's just a matter of choice. Their built-in presets of distortion are also equally good. Um, which makes this easier is we all understand a lot of these knobs because we see them on our pedals, we see them on our amps, and so that's great, But when you look at a fractal unit and the delays, if you click on a delay, now you're looking at percentages, so it's a little different menus. Things you have to consider when you're getting into fractal. It's like another language. It's like going from Android to Apple. It's just and this is kind of why I got away from it, because things get into a lot of different parameters, millimeters, and I think with a lot of the DSPs they don't even do that. They're kind of like right here, just in your face, simple language. They're not talking about parameters. When you adjust things, you will see that, but you're basically kind of color coding your tone, which is a lot nicer when you can color code it, based on not percentage, but by the amount increase or decrease, which is kind of on normal. So on this patch, it's just, this is the head, these are the effects. Can bring up the presence. I can increase the delay to get those crazy, stupid delays. I can go ping pong right here. See where we're at. And it's easy, to cut down on the spread to make it more or less. A lot of us like to play around with delays and reverbs and stuff like that. So anyway, that's kind of what I want to convey, is that the Fractal FM AM4 is just not going to be for everybody. And if you're wanting to walk down that road, then it's just a matter of addressing the elephant in the room. You're going to have to get familiar with all of this stuff. And what else? Where did I save it at? Did it even... I'll have to find it later, I guess. So it just takes time, to get through all of these things and figure out how to tone shape your sound, which kind of takes away from enjoying just, easily picking something up and playing and enjoying that sound. Because you can spend your whole life behind these edit and just tone shaping your life to death. So just something to consider. This is just my opinion on this stuff, you know. And I think, where did why doesn't it, when I save something, it doesn't save it here? When I clicked on something, I was like, I want to work on it later. It didn't even save that part. Whatever. Anyway, guys, that's all I'm going to say about, that's all I'm going to say about that. So just think about that. There are a lot of other things you can buy other than the FM, the Fractal AM4. You have DSPs, and there's a lot of them, that do different things that have awesome sound, awesome quality, pennies on the dollar. Or you can go drop something like this and start, a whole new journey on learning the whole language of Fractal. You can go online and sign up for classes, because a lot of it's going to be a big learning curve. He tells you at the end, sign up for the
Fractal Audio
classes.
Systems unit, whether that's the Aspx 3, the FM9, or the FM3, make sure to visit classes.coopercar.
So it's all on you guys. Take care. Have a blessed New Year's, by the way. I don't know what I'll be uploading next, but I did want to talk about the Fractal FM4. Just, I think there are cheaper alternatives that will get you in the same ballpark, but much more penny-wise. You'll save a lot of money. But if you're going to go in this direction, just be prepared. This thing is definitely not for everybody, and it takes me back to a time which I don't really prefer. So I don't know how long this will be with me, because really, I mean, you have to sit down and spend a lot of time with it on the editor, figuring out, and again, tone shaping. We're getting to this whole kind of tone shape. When you watch a video, these guys already did their math. They already shaped their tone, and they're just showing you how cool it can sound and blah, blah, blah. They're not telling you how long it took them to get that, 'cause you can go and just click on a blank and start dumping stuff in there, but that's not something they're really going to use in their arsenal. They're just showing you that, like anything else, like any one processor, you can do that with. That doesn't make that unique. What makes this unique is that it's got menus and libraries and expert mode and all this other stuff for these guys that are way more advanced, players that need that whole studio advanced tone, and who knows what they're hearing. I don't hear what they're hearing. I just want to be able to play through an amp, a simple DSP. I'll get the same effect, a combo amp that's got good modern delays and reverbs in here and some good distortions, effects, tube type sound effects. Pennies on the dollar, but that's going to cost you a little bit more than that. So choice is yours. As always, take care and God bless.